Здравствуйте, меня зовут Мигел, и я студент в Йельском университете в Нью-Хейвене, Коннектикут. Мне 22 года, и сейчас я буду задать вопросы некоторым прохожим про их мнение Второй мировой войны, особенно про День Победы. Здесь, в США, это не праздник, как в бывшем советском блоке, и поэтому я хочу знать, что думают мои другие американцы.
Do you know what Victory Day is?
Not till you just sort of introduced it to me.
I am not aware of this day.
Victory Day is when the Allies defeated the Nazis during World War II.
I know of like Victory in Europe Day, Victory in Japan Day, just those general holidays or celebrations related to World War II.
Victory Day.
Yes.
Could that be a war thing doing with the Second World War or something, or the First World War?
No, I don't. And when you say a Victory Day, it was just kind of confusing. But I know V-Day. I don't know. I know that makes no sense, but I know what V-Day is. I didn't know it was Victory Day. I know that may sound weird.
There's probably a number of them from different countries.
Celebrates victory, the Allies' victory in World War II.
Okay. Do you know anybody who has been affected by World War II? Any relatives that
Yeah, I
were
had a
involved?
grandfather who fought in the Battle of the Bulge.
Distant, great grandfather type people that I am not really fully aware of their, what they did in the war or anything like that. So.
My grandmother took my mother and her two brothers, and they ran through the woods from the Nazis. They were German, but they ran through the woods from the Nazis, and they were getting on a train to go to Dresden. And my grandmother noticed that the officials were leaving Dresden area, so she decided that must mean something. So she got my mother and her two brothers going in the opposite direction, and they actually saw the explosions of Dresden happening. So I'm lucky to even be here today.
I don't know very much about my paternal grandparents, but I know my maternal grandfather was a member of a guerrilla movement that tried to fight against the Japanese during the Japanese occupation of the Philippines.
Yeah, my grandpa, he was the first black sergeant in his cavalry, I think he was. I don't know, yeah. But he was in World War II.
My dad was it was post-war, but he was in France, stationed in France after the war.
Okay.
In the, what was it, I guess, 50s at some point.
I had two grandfathers that fought in World War II. One of them was in what they now refer to as the CIA, and he actually was a war crimes lawyer in Germany after the war.
Okay. Do you think that maybe victory in World War II is the sort of holiday that we should have here? Something that we should celebrate?
I really have no strong feelings about that, but I've definitely read things and heard through interviews and stuff that the generation that fought in World War II was quote unquote the greatest generation of Americans, and it would probably be a nice tribute to them if we had a holiday.
Well, if it is something that would happen, then they should include sort of the recent history after World War II that led to the Cold War and stuff as a part of it, because our foreign policy really changed after World War II, and so that should be included in this type of celebration.
I think we probably should, because if we celebrate Pearl Harbor and D-Day, then we might as well celebrate V-Day.
I would think, we have Veterans Day and things like that.
If you're trying to expose more people to the topic of World War II and V-Day, sure, that's what this conference is for, educating people in things they don't know,
I think it's a good idea to remember it. Yeah, kind of beating the Nazis and stuff.
I think we have enough holidays as it is.
Okay. So how do you feel your exposure to the topic of World War II is?
I think it's I'm pretty exposed because I remember when I was 11, I read the Diary of Anne Frank, and then after that, I did a lot of Holocaust projects, and I think in high school we learned a lot about it too.
Definitely, I don't think there's a shortage of exposure to the European theater.
Okay.
I think the public could be a little bit more in tune to what happened in the Pacific theater,
Okay.
especially related to what happened before America got involved.
We live in a bubble here in the United States.
Really?
A war bubble. We're only by the fact that since the Vietnam War that we get it on the TV, we really don't experience any of that unless you live with a family member who lived through World War II. Otherwise, we're in a big bubble here. Here in the United States, how affected were we really of it? I mean, yes, there were some of these things where the people were collecting things and they were on food stamps and food rationing and whatever, but we still here in America have never really been that affected by war unless it's been somebody in your family that's been involved in it. We still, like I said earlier, we're still in this sort of bubble here, and it's still going on.
I think I was fairly exposed to it back home. Like we have the whole D-Day Museum and stuff like that.
World War II. Just kind of a general ed, college, and again, how would I describe it? I've seen footage, I've seen kind of a movie or two about this Stalingrad, how the Germans wiped out tons of Russians. I mean, I know it was pretty brutal. They, I guess the terrible nature of war is pretty evident from World War II, and especially the Russian front was bad. Sure, I mean, I remember I was living in Brussels. I was studying there for a year, and there was VE Day. I remember now. It was celebrating, I forget when it was exactly. Was it the spring? I don't even remember. I think they marched. I mean, I didn't go to, I didn't really pay attention as much as I should have, but I think there were some, marches.
Okay.
Old vets kind of marching is what I...
Any kind of knowledge to help people to realize that we shouldn't be warring, it will be good. And if any implementing of classes and instructions in school systems would be wonderful.